The kitchen still smelled faintly of varnish. I had finished the renovations 3 weeks earlier. New cabinets, refinished floors. I had chosen the tile myself. Something understated, not flashy. After 32 years of compromise, I wanted quiet more than luxury. The house wasn't large, but it was mine. Fully mine. Saturday afternoon, the doorbell rang twice. Not impatiently, but firmly. I wiped my hands on a dish towel and opened the door to my daughter Claire and her husband Mark. They didn't step in the way family usually does. No hug, no looking around. They stood like people about to conduct business. Claire smiled the way she does when she's bracing for resistance. "We need to talk," she said. I remember noticing how bright the sunlight was behind them. I remember thinking I should turn off the oven. They walked into the living room without waiting to be invited. Mark glanced around, evaluating, appraising. He nodded once, as if confirming a calculation. Claire didn't sit. "You have 48 hours to pack up and leave," she said, almost gently. "The house goes on the market Monday." The sentence landed strangely, as if she had spoken in another language. I waited for the rest of it, a joke, a clarification, an explanation that made sense. None came. "I'm sorry," I said. Mark answered instead. "It's just practical, Susan. The market's strong. This place has equity now. We've already spoken to a realtor." "Already?" Claire folded her hands together. "You'll get your share, obviously. We'll make sure you're taken care of, but it doesn't make sense for you to live here alone." Taken care of. For a moment, I couldn't feel my hands. The renovation had increased the property value. They knew that. I had mentioned it casually months ago. Proud, maybe, I had paid off the remaining balance myself after Harold died. It took nearly everything I had saved. They had helped me years ago with a short-term loan when I refinanced. A small bridge. I paid them back with interest. I remembered writing the check. But I also remembered something else. A conversation I'd had with my attorney after that repayment cleared. A quiet precaution. A restructuring. A decision made not from suspicion, but from a subtle unease I didn't yet know how to name. Claire kept talking. "It's just smarter this way. You can get a smaller condo, less upkeep." Her tone wasn't cruel. That might have been easier. It was administrative. I realized then that this wasn't a discussion. It was a rollout. They had assumed I would fold the way I always had, babysitting when they needed a weekend away, letting them store furniture in my garage, temporarily, co-signing once, never again after that scare. I stood there in my own living room, listening to the future being arranged for me. 48 hours, Mark repeated, checking his watch. "We've already got a photographer scheduled." Already. Something inside me, not anger, not exactly, simply stopped yielding. "I see," I said. Claire seemed relieved at my calm. She mistook it for compliance. "We'll send the listing draft tonight," she said. It's honestly a great opportunity. They left as briskly as they had arrived. I locked the door behind them and leaned against it, staring at the hallway light switch I had replaced myself last week. I thought about packing. I imagined wrapping plates in newspaper. I imagined calling friends to explain. Then I walked into the kitchen, sat at the counter, and made a phone call. The conversation lasted 9 minutes. There was no drama in it, just verification. A request to pull documentation. A quiet, "Yes, I'd like that clarified formally." Monday morning arrived with a different kind of sunlight. At 11, a sedan pulled into the driveway. Claire and Mark arrived 15 minutes later, confident and brisk. They carried folders. The realtor trailed behind them. Professional smile, tablet in hand. They didn't expect anyone else to be there. The attorney introduced himself calmly at the dining table. I did not speak much. He laid out the documents in deliberate order. The refinancing payoff receipt. The recorded deed adjustment filed 6 months earlier. The notarized release of any prior financial interest connected to the temporary loan years back. The house was solely in my name, fully, unambiguously. The earlier financial assistance had never granted partial ownership, and even if it had been interpreted that way, it had been formally dissolved upon repayment and restructuring. The listing agreement they had drafted held no authority. The realtor's expression changed first, from sales brightness to polite neutrality. She closed her tablet slowly. Mark tried to interrupt twice. The attorney didn't raise his voice, he simply clarified, each time more precisely. Claire's composure thinned in increments. "This can't be right," she said. "It is," the attorney replied. "The documentation is public record." There was a moment, unmistakable, when control left the room. Not explosively, just conclusively. The realtor excused herself within minutes. There were apologies, carefully phrased, professional distance established. Mark's certainty drained into irritation, then into something quieter. Claire looked at me, not angrily, but as if seeing a stranger. "You didn't tell us," she said. "I considered that." "You didn't ask," I replied. There was no shouting, no threats, just an awkward shrinking silence where their plans had been. They left separately. 5 days later I heard through my sister that the failed listing had triggered complications, a deposit they'd placed on another property, financial assumptions built on anticipated sale proceeds. Conversations they now had to unwind. Nothing catastrophic, just consequences. I did not call them. I did not celebrate. Saturday afternoon returned again, a week later. The house was quiet. The tiles still caught the light the same way. I stood at the kitchen counter and ran my hand across the wood grain I had chosen. It wasn't the phone call that changed anything. It was the decision not to step aside simply because it was expected. There is a particular strength in refusing escalation, in letting authority speak when emotion would only weaken you. Claire hasn't called. I don't know when she will. I suspect she believed she was being practical. I suspect she still does. But something has shifted that cannot be renovated back into place. The house remains mine. And for the first time in years, so does the quiet.